Hello everyone, this is Chantel, and today I'm going to be planting sort of the last of our summer plantings in our vegetable garden. They're not technically the last because I still have potatoes and I have sweet potatoes that I still need to plant, but the raised beds are still not done. And my foot is hurting me so much, it feels actually sort of numb and my whole leg is swollen. But I do have an appointment with the doctor, so don't worry. I think the reason is just I'm not resting enough, that's all, for the swelling. So yeah, that's why, things are kind of slow. And the kids are right now helping with taking care of their baby sister, so that's helpful. She just woke up. She woke up earlier this morning, and super early. She went back to sleep, and now she's awake again. So it's around maybe like almost 10 o'clock in the morning. It's starting to get hot. I gotta get to planting. So right now I have some eggplants that are still yellowing in their cans, and peppers that I haven't even transplanted into bigger pots. They're still in their seedling pots and they're like about to die. But I thought, planting them is better than not. And over here I'm going to share with you my successes and my failures, and I'm in what I would call a challenging season of life at this moment. I'm going to try to do my best and be thankful for all the blessings that I have, and just depend on God with raising up this garden and having it flourish, because I can't do this by myself. Yeah, the tomatoes are not doing well at all. This is the first time that ever happens to me, ever. So I'm gonna try to amend the soil and make it healthy. I did amend the soil before, and it's just things are not doing well in it. This is a new soil that we bought earlier this spring. We put it in our raised beds, and mostly everything that's in there is struggling. It's definitely not overwatering, because I see that there's a tomato plant that doesn't get as much water as the others, and it still has the same issues. So here's what's happening. Sorry, I went off on a tangent. We will get to planting, and I will show you the plants and how deathly pale they are, and I'll also show you good things too, maybe just to kind of brighten your day up. So I was recently listening to Jess from Roots and Refuge, and she was having an issue with her high tunnels because she bought soil and all her nightshade plants were suffering. Her tomatoes looked the same as my tomatoes, with a leaf curling, and some of them are right now starting to die. So I don't know if this is an issue with the grazon, like she was saying, if the soil has been sprayed with that or not. I went back and forth with my husband on that, and he disagrees. I half agree if this is the issue with our soil, and half not. I see a finch in my garden, so cute. And so we also had really weird temperatures, like up and down heat waves, and then just really cold days. Like just a few days ago we had days in the 60s, which is not super cold, but the nights would go down to 46, and that's really cold. It's like a cold shock for plants, especially plants that like a warmer weather. Then we have heat wave days, which are like in the 90s and high 70s and 80s, and then really cold nights. Like last night it was 50 in the 50s, and could have been even colder, I don't know, but when I woke up this morning it was 55. So it's obviously not the best for these types of plants. So that could be it. Could be a million other reasons. But I have never amended this soil with organic compost from our kitchen, from what the normal things that I do for my garden. I didn't have the chance to do that because I just put the soil in and I planted, and I just amended with some fertilizer. So, and there is one bed that I've been struggling with for years since we first moved into this house. Almost everything that I put in there struggles and doesn't do well and dies. And I see the onions that I planted in that bed, like, they're not even growing. They're yellowing. I really wonder if that bed was sprayed with something like that before we moved in, because nothing grows in it. Which is super weird. We did buy compost also. I hesitate to call it compost because it really doesn't look like compost. It doesn't feel like compost. It doesn't act like compost. Anyways, rant. Is it rant over yet? I don't know. So I have here 2 beds, 16 by 3 beds. Some of them are planted with some brassicas, and not all the bed. There is some space that I can plant some more stuff in there. I haven't amended these beds either. I did plant some borage, and it's not really growing because I didn't give it any fertilizer or anything yet. Again, same soil. I'm going to try to weed these beds because they are full of weeds, and then I'm going to try to plant the vegetables that I have over here. I have 3 tomatillos, the eggplants, and the peppers. So let me show you what I have, and we'll get to weeding, fertilizing, and planting. So you can see here the peppers are starting to flower. I'll pinch those flowers off because I really want them to set some roots in the ground and put on some growth. The tomatillos, I'm just going to leave the tomatillos on them. I'm not going to even bother. We'll see if they suffer like the tomatoes or not. We'll see. I have no idea. And look at these sad peppers. I don't know. Would they survive? And eggplants. Would they? I have no idea. We'll see. Let me show you something positive on a different note. So these are the fava beans. I planted them early spring. I have a video on that also. They got covered with thrip, I think. And I came and I sprayed them with some BT. I'm going to have to do it again a few more times just to make sure that I got a hold on it. But they are already starting to put out some fruits, and you can see these were my favorite as a child to eat with a Greek yogurt sandwich with olive oil and salt, and this the fava beans and some other vegetables. We would make a wrap out of it and have that sandwich, and it's really good, or you could just eat it on the side with that. I know that sounds really weird, but you have to try it, and trust me, it's so good. This is a Lebanese kind of either lunch or breakfast or whatever you want it to be, or dinner. But that's how they're doing. And I have a wild fern growing in here also. And the sugar snap peas, they have tons of fruit on them, but it's starting to get hot, so some of them are starting to wither and die. But I gotta harvest them today again, and it looks like the garlic is almost ready to be harvested, and it's not doing as good as I'd like it to also. You have some wins and some losses. And this is the kohlrabi. Looks like it's starting to make a head. Let's see that. See, these are the onions in this bed that I've been struggling with for years now. On this side, they're good. on that side, not so much. I'm wondering if it's also, it could be this hose that I'm using, that it's not wicking well. I did turn on the water this morning. No, it's wet. It's wet. I know. I don't know. It's definitely not a water issue. And I got a weed, giant weed, right there. On the other hand, these brassicas, if you just ignore the weeds over here, they seem to be doing okay, even though I haven't fertilized them a bit. So I am going to be giving them fertilizer today, right after I weed and plant. You know, what this is telling me is that we can try, we can work as hard as we can and do the best practices that we know to do. And you know, even with years and years of experience, it doesn't matter. We ultimately have to depend on the Lord and know that He's the one that's taking care of us, and put our trust in Him. You know, this is the channel's name is Peaceful Living NH, and we live in troublesome times, and I really want to bring some peace into this world. And I'm often reminded by my grandfather and the peace that he had as he walked in his garden. He didn't really have it because he walked in his garden. Yes, gardening is therapeutic and it helps you with de-stressing and all that. But without God, you cannot have peace. And that's what I wish for everyone. That's what I hope for everyone. And, you know, I put my trust in the Lord. Yes, I am sad because, you know, I see this that's happening to my garden, but I can be sad and still have peace, knowing that God is going to be taking care of us. So, with that note, let's go ahead and get going on weeding. Oh, and the strawberries that I bought, meaning to plant in these beds over here, it turns out that they are annuals. I don't know how I didn't see it. The tag was hiding under the strawberries and I couldn't see the tag. So I just grabbed them thinking that they were perennial strawberries, and turns out they're annuals. But it's okay, the kids are having fun. Especially my toddler, she's loving the strawberries. She even eats them while they're still not ripe yet. She likes sour food, like me. Most of my kids do, so. And my grapevines that I got from Tractor Supply, none of them really survived. One of them survived, then we got a lot of rain, and it just died because of all the rain that we got. And so their roots were not really good roots. They barely had any roots on them, so they weren't able to really make it. And you know, that's the thing, when you want to buy some bare root plants, you want to make sure that you buy them from a place that you trust. And that was my first time buying bare root from Tractor Supply. They were inside, they were in bags, they were, you know, not being kept in a cool environment. Some of them were already putting some green shoots, like the hardy kiwi, and then as soon as I planted it, it just started withering. So anyways, let's go ahead and get weeding. Enough with this chatty stuff. So I just finished weeding these two sections over here. It's a one giant bed, but it's separated with a wooden board, and you can watch the video on how we built this raised bed for just around $70. I'll link it in the description box and at the end of this video. But I was thinking I'm not going to do the weeding on the other two beds because I want to finish planting these eggplants and peppers right now. It's starting to get hot, and I don't want to be in here in the middle of the heat. And also I want to go inside and see my daughter. So I don't want to spend too long over here. So right now I'm going to fertilize. I see a few weeds around here. I'm going to pick those up also. I'm going to fertilize and then decide how I'm going to place the plants. Hi, beautiful. Good morning. So I hope you can see my face through this lighting, but more so I hope you can see the Lord's face, and that's the Lord Jesus Christ that I'm talking about. You know, the Lord said to the disciples before he ascended into heaven, "In this world you will have trouble, but peace I leave with you." And that's the peace that I'm talking about. That's the peace that we depend on as a family, as a whole. That's the peace that I depend on as an individual, and that's the Lord that I put my trust in. We live in a crazy world. Every day we are bombarded with a different kind of news, and I am thankful that I'm living on this earth. I am thankful for the place that the Lord has chosen to put us in. I'm thankful for this platform to allow me to share with you my thoughts and what I'm doing, and to help you grow and to learn from you as well. And I'm thankful for you, for being here, for listening to me, for supporting me through your comments and through your likes, and just for watching these videos. I'm thankful for my children, above all, for my husband, above all things, I'm thankful for the Lord. But I'm also thankful for my husband and for my children that bring so much joy to my life. I'm thankful for the fact that I'm able to homeschool my children and protect them from all that the world has to bombard them with. I'm not against any individual if they want to choose to live a certain way of life, but I am against them trying to influence my children and trying to force me to believe in that and to choose that way of life as well. If you don't like what you're hearing, you're free to leave. You don't have to stay here. But this is who I am, this is what I believe, and my Lord is Jesus Christ, and I hope that one day you will choose to have Him as your Lord and Savior as well. I didn't mean for this platform to be a way as an outreach, but I am God's vessel, and I will do as He tells me to do, and if this is what He wants me to share, then I will share what He wants me to share. My plan was just to share gardening, self-sufficiency, and from scratch gluten-free cooking. That's not what I was planning on sharing, but I really felt led that I need to share this because we, again, live in a world that is troublesome, that is every day you hear war and riots and famine and pestilence and all these things, and the Bible talks about all these things. And with all that said, I have peace. I have peace in the Lord, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful for so many things, for being able to grow vegetables, even though this year was not my prime year, and that's the year where I decided to start sharing these videos. I've had many successful years before that, but this is humbling, and I think we all need a little bit of humbling. And I'm glad to share the successes and failures with you, and my way of gardening and living life. You know, we are all created uniquely in Christ's image, and we all have different purposes in this life, and my way of gardening or cooking or whatever it may be is going to be different than someone else's way, and I'm not going to try to copy and paste someone else's way. I have my own ways, and I'm going to stick to them, and because I know that they have worked for me for so many years, and I plan on sharing these ways with you. And before, I was hesitant to share these ways because I thought, you know, most people would think maybe that's ugly, or that's not the way how to do it, or whatever it may be. So I'm just going to share who I am. I'm just going to share what I have experienced, my knowledge, my love of the life that God has given me, and of the plants that He had given me to care for, the nature, and for my children, and for everything, and for my human, what's the word? You'll have to excuse me. I wasn't born in the United States, so sometimes I forget words. You know, the other humans around. I forgot what I was going to say, but I really felt led to say what I said. So now I am going to place the vegetables over here and get ready on planting. Get started on planting, whatever. I'm thirsty, dehydrated, and I really want to go inside. So let's go ahead and get done with this. I wanted to bring you guys a little closer because I don't know if it was hard to see in the sun or not, but I placed them almost a foot apart, not quite, from each other. And in the rows they are about a foot apart. Sorry, in between each other they are about a foot apart, but between the rows I have sometimes less than a foot. It's okay, not a big deal. I kind of, it's late in the season and I don't know how well they are going to do. My plan for them is to do well. Would they? I don't know. See that cabbage moth right there? But I do see a lot of butterflies too. Oh, monarch disappeared. Anyways, squirrel. What was I saying? Yes, so my plan is for them to do well. I don't know if they are going to do as well as I hope for them to do. And it is pretty late in the season. Right now it is July. Is it July? No, it's like June 28th, I think. Yes, today is June 28th. So over here I have the peppers, and over here I have the eggplants, and I have 3 tomatillo plants that I spaced almost 2 feet apart or 18 inches apart, something like that, from each other. And on this side I have some fennel, not dill. I don't like dill. I like fennel. I think this bed was getting a little bit overwatered, so I just turned off the water. Oh, I forgot to turn off the water over here. So tomorrow I won't water it. I'll check on it after tomorrow and see how it's going to be doing. So it's all fertilized. I just have to plant, and I'm going to pinch off the flowers off the peppers like you see over here so that they could produce better, because I don't want them to focus on the flowers right now, even though it's very sad and my heart is, oh, I'm sorry you can't see me doing it, and my heart is breaking, but it's okay. They need that. So my hope is that they will block any weeds from coming up, because this year I can't weed as much as I would like to. So, and I don't have any mulch to cover them with. It's just dependent on me weeding, and I can't really trust my kids with the weeding because they don't know yet what is a weed and what is a plant. I have to be right there with them. Yeah, so I planted them pretty close just to kind of make it a little bit easier on myself. So I like to plant things pretty close together because it keeps the soil moist, it covers up the soil with the leaves, and it prevents weeds from sprouting as much as they would. Because if you do observe nature, you notice that plants grow pretty thickly together. Now I'm not planting them as thick as nature would, obviously. But things do very well in nature, even though they are like one plant up against the other. So we can also follow the same thing over here if we provide them with the proper nutrients, when we provide them with enough spacing for them to grow and grow their leaves and produce their plants without blocking too much sunlight off of them. They are going to grow. Now what happens is the plant will grow a little bit taller than wider, and I don't mind that. We'll see how they do. I'll show you guys anyways, and if it's a fail, oh well, it's a fail. If not, I'm going to be thankful for it, and we just live and we move on with life, and that's what we have to do. Otherwise, we won't be able to live. So for the peppers, I have them organized in rows by the variety. This is the Ozark Giant. I have a lot of varieties, and I'm hoping to be able to experience these varieties. Look at these roots. I don't know what you guys can see and what you can't see. You see this? This looks pretty good actually, but I haven't fertilized them in so long, so the poor peppers. It's okay. So with peppers, you don't want to plant them as deep as you plant tomatoes. You just want to plant them up to where the roots are, because they can rot. The soil is pretty moist, so I'm not going to water unless I see something that needs watering, like the tomatillos are a little bit dry, so I might water those. So for the tomatillo plants, they act pretty much as tomatoes do. They have hairs all along their stems, and you can bury them pretty deep, and they can develop roots on some of the stems, from some of the hairs. So if I bring this tomatillo plant over close to you, you will see what I'm talking about. So you can see right here these hairs, and then you see these little white nubs that are forming next to the hairs. So these would be the roots. Not all hairs develop into roots. Some of them do. But they can develop these roots all over their stems. And so if I take these leaves over here off, and I bury this tomatillo deep into the ground, maybe up to here, if I'm able to, if the soil allows me to, then I could get roots all along this stem. The plants would be stronger because it has a lot more roots. Hopefully the same thing that happened to the tomatoes won't happen to the tomatillos. And also it would withstand wind because it would be deeper into the ground and it would be able to absorb more nutrients from the soil. Hopefully the soil is good. I did fertilize, hopefully that will help. So let's go ahead and plant it. And there we go. It's planted, it's deep, and it's good. And now it's not going to topple over if a windstorm comes. Tomatillos also need staking, and you can prune them the same way as you would prune tomatoes. And I also did a whole video on pruning tomatoes. Even though my tomatoes are not doing well, it's still it's still the way that I advise everyone to prune tomatoes. That's how I pruned my tomatoes throughout the years, and they were super successful throughout the years, except for this year again when I decided to start YouTube on this topic. Before I started this channel, they actually had a different channel which was just gluten-free cooking, and I really felt like I need to do more than just cooking. I really wanted to share about gardening because gardening is also one of my great passions, and about self-sufficiency because I am also very passionate about that. Not that I don't advise anyone to just solely depend on yourself and be completely independent from society. No one can do that. Okay, we need each other. But what I mean by self-sufficiency is, being able to grow food for your family, or being able to raise animals, or just providing a sort of means for you and your loved ones, whether you have a family or not. I'm sure you have loved ones in your life, and if you don't, you can consider us over here on this channel as your family. And you just you want to be able to support yourself and to not be a burden on society. And also, in case if anything happens in the world, you want to be able to, provide for yourself. What if the government wasn't able to help us? And what if, like in situations where you just lose power, or, you can go without power for days and sometimes weeks. You want to have a solution for that. And if you guys want us to talk about a scenario like that, I'm sure I can get my husband in on that, and he can talk to you guys specifically about that, and how we are planning on being prepared for those kind of situations. And we have lost power in the past, and how we dealt with it, and how we are planning on dealing with it in the future. We do live in a cold environment, so losing power for us is not something that can never happen. We lose power sometimes once every year or once every 2 years, depending if we have a severe storm. Also, our area gets a lot of wind, So, you know, we could have power outage for hours or for days sometimes, or an ice storm might come and just knock down a whole bunch of wires, or maybe a tree falls, you know. So that's the kind of situations that I'm talking about. I'm not just only talking about doom and gloom, you know, but we like to be prepared for everything, and we don't like to be a burden on society, and I encourage everyone to be that way. And also not just for not being a burden, but the reason why I grow food and you know, I grow organically is for our family's health. And me personally and my son, we have experienced health issues, especially myself, just from all the pesticides and the genetically modified food. And not that everything is genetically modified, I am aware of the things that are genetically modified, but you know, all these things and the methods that they are growing food and the lack of nutrients that's in our food. I mean, I'm taking tons of pills every day to just support my body because of the lack of nutrients in the food that we buy from the store. I'm getting some vegetables from the garden at this point, but not enough to support our family. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to get enough vegetables to support our family. I'm not delusional on that. But I am trying to grow our vegetable garden and to provide as much as we can for our family from our vegetable garden. We are also, you know, we also have some animals, and we have some chickens. We can get protein from the chickens, you know, and we grow our chickens free range under a covered, you know, under a covered structure, so that they're not exposed to other birds because of the, you know, the supposed bird flu that's going around, and just in case, and also because we don't want any hawks or any wild animals to come and kill them, because we have experienced an entire flock just get devoured by wild animals in our area. We have all sorts of wild animals. I mean, just the other day, our neighbor told me she saw a bear in her front yard. So, anyways, I went off on a tangent. I don't know what I was saying. I was talking about tomatillos, and now I'm here. The point is, we like to be ready, and if you guys want us to talk more about readiness stuff, more about self-preparedness, we will be happy to talk more about those subjects, and I'll try to bring my husband on board and have him talk about these subjects with you guys, because he's very good at it. As I was putting stuff away, I realized I showed you my bad onions, but I didn't show you my good onions. So let me quickly show you the good onions. So you can see over here, these are the red onions, and they are starting to bulb up. I started giving them more water because this so-said compost, dries up really fast. And I noticed that they really needed more water. I am planning on fertilizing today. Will it happen? I don't know. But I really want to give them another dose of fertilizer. I actually want to give the whole garden another dose of fertilizer, because things are a little bit struggling. This bed over here, it was full of sheep sorrel, and then I came and I weeded it. You can see some of them that are struggling from the sheep sorrel that was overtaking them. And some are doing better than others, like this one over here. You can see it's super happy. So, you know, fertilizer, water, and they'll do well. That's what I'm hoping, and they'll overcome all the difficulties that came upon them. And the gladiolas over here, these are some pink gladiolas, are doing better. Again, they also need fertilizer, so I'm hoping to see their flowers soon. I love gladiolas, I think they're pretty, and I love the cabbage, not cabbage, sorry, I love the radish and turnip flowers, so I just leave them. I also collect their seeds, and they smell so sweet. I love their smell. I think they are beautiful, and I love their smell, so I just leave them. And this is still covered because because of this thing right here. You see her? You see her? There she is. She lays her eggs everywhere. And I want my cabbages. There are plenty of them. They're everywhere. Cabbage moths. So I hope that this video was not so much of a rant. I hope you guys learned something, and I was being very vulnerable with you, and I'm wearing my stained shirt and all. You know, but I think openness is important. If I want you guys to trust me, I have to be open with you, and you know, to a certain extent, of course. I'm not going to share with you my life, every detail of my life. That's not going to happen, because my life is my life and not yours. So, anyways, I really hope you did learn something from this video. I will be leaving links for some videos that you guys can go ahead and watch over here. And I really hope that you learned something from this video. And Jesus said to his disciples, "My peace I give to you, not as the world gives, but as I give." There's more to that verse, but that's my hope for you, is that you have the peace of the Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.